Welcome to your postseason edition of Auburn Head to Head. It's Auburn, it's UCF in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. Back to the ATL. I'm Lauren Sisler.
And I'm Kevin Scarbinsky. Will the Tigers be angry that they didn't quite make that last step into the playoff, or will they be sad that they have to go back to Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
Okay, Kevin, I think you make a very good point there, and I think a big storyline in this football game, can the Auburn Tigers stay up? Can they get motivated after this disappointing loss in the SEC Championship? Obviously, they've had a few weeks to recover from that, but I think this is going to be a good Central Florida team, the only undefeated team in the country. They got Mackenzie Milton, who comes in as a great quarterback. He's got a great deep threat in this football game, but another factor, will Kerryon Johnson be healthy? He tweeted out that he will be available for this game. So I think a lot rests on Auburn's ability as an offense to bring themselves back together after what we saw in that SEC Championship game when Georgia just really rolled right over them.
It is all, bowl games in general, Lauren, that are short of playoff games are all about motivation. Who really wants to be there? Who wants to show out? And we don't really know how it's going to translate for Central Florida because Scott Frost, the head coach, is moving back to his alma mater, Nebraska, as the head coach there. But he's taking most of his staff with him. But they're going to stick around and coach the team in the bowl game. So you know the Golden Knights will be motivated. But they did a very foolish thing. Their running back, Adrian Killens, who said that Auburn doesn't understand speed. He doesn't, because the SEC doesn't understand speed. Does he understand that Auburn has played 5 games in the last calendar year against the 4 teams in this year's playoff? Oklahoma, starting with last year's Sugar Bowl.
Yep.
Then they've also played Alabama. They played Georgia twice. Oh, and they played Clemson as well. I think those teams know a little bit about speed. And by the way, Auburn has plenty of speed itself. So if Kerryon Johnson is a lot closer to 100% than he was for the SEC Championship game, and I think he will be, and I think it's UCF that may want to keep its mouth shut.
And I know that these Auburn players, oftentimes they act like, oh, we don't care, we're not listening to that trash talk. But you know, coming into this, those guys took that little piece of advice or wording from Adrian and said, we're going to run with that. So as you said, I think it'll be interesting to see how they're able to get motivated, stand up for this one, and close out the season. And I do think it'll be a big part of going into the next season, the motivation. And of course, with Gus Malzahn getting that contract extension, I think it plays well in his favor, obviously, that they get the win in this one.
There's a little pressure on Gus in terms of that because he's 1-3 in bowl games at Auburn. He beat Memphis from the AAC, along with where UCF comes from, a couple of years ago in the Birmingham Bowl, but he's lost his 3 other postseason/bowl games. Now he has split SEC championship games, beat Missouri in 2013, lost to Georgia this year. So the pressure now is ramped up on Gus Malzahn. Starting with this game and moving forward with that new 7-year, $49 million contract, you got to get it done not just from September through November, but you got to get it done in December and January too to justify that kind of payday.
All right, Kevin, it is prediction time, and I am going in favor of the Auburn Tigers in this one. I think Auburn obviously will be kept on their toes. This UCF offense, they bring a lot of weapons. I don't think they're going to hold back in this one. I think that you're not going to have a conservative UCF team. But again, Scott Frost going to Nebraska, I think that's a distraction for that team. And I really do think this Auburn team wants to come out here and kind of solidify what happened in the SEC Championship game, amend what happened in that. So I think that the motivation will be in favor of the Auburn Tigers. They'll come out here, they'll dominate. My final score prediction, 35-17.
Lauren, look, we already talked about the incredible schedule that Auburn has played. Let's talk about the schedule that Central Florida has played on its way to 12-0. Its non-conference schedule, Florida International, Maryland, and Austin Peay. Not so much, all right? And then let's talk about the last 2 games that Central Florida's played to get to this point, to get to 12-0. They had 2 big wins over South Florida, their rival, and then over Memphis in the AAC Championship game. But you know what their defense allowed in those 2 games? Against South Florida, they gave up 42 points, 653 yards. Against Memphis, they gave up 55 points. Now, this was a double overtime game, but only 7 were scored in overtime. They gave up 55 points and 753 yards. Somewhere, Jarrett Stidham, Ryan Davis, Kerryon Johnson are smiling and licking their chops about what they're going to do to this Central Florida defense. Auburn should roll in this game. They'll give up some yards and points because Central Florida is really good. They lead the nation in scoring. But Auburn should dominate this game 45-28.